thought of something. I was like, yeah, what's with Angela? Why does she always bring up her husband to me?
But you were the person who said you Charles.
Girl, no.
Blame it on alcohol. That's what you said.
No,
That's what I heard.
no.
That's why I want to hear behind my back.
Girl, it wasn't behind your back. Your ass wasn't been asleep. It was a...
Hey y'all, it's me Tony and I'm back with a new review. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel so you guys won't miss out on any future Real Housewives tea. Now let's get into it. So I'm not gonna lie guys, this episode was pretty lackluster, so I'm gonna make it quick for you all. The ladies are filling in Cynthia on what happened at the Nashville after party when the girls were in the pool talking about Angela. And they also let Angela know like, hey, you know, Porsha did say that she was going to F her husband. She was going to F Charles Oakley. And then when Cynthia asked Porsha just straight up lies. She's like, no, I didn't say that. You know, I would never do that. And like I said before, guys, Porsha knows who to play with. I just told y'all in my last recap that Porsha would never say that to certain housewives like the OGs. And I said she wouldn't even say that to Cynthia. And here I was right because she sat up there in Cynthia's face and lied. Now the next scene, we get Porsha and she's at her mom's house. She buys a puppy for her daughter and she's like, you know, I'm just doing it to make my daughter happy because she can probably tell I have, you know, bad energy right now. And it's like, girl, your energy is so awful. I'm glad you can admit it for once. Like a puppy ain't gonna solve it. I want you to buy some therapy sessions. You might need an exorcist. You know, blackpeoplemeet.com, Christian Mingle, you need something because you are a dark cloud with a Jezebel spirit. Anywho, she's telling her mom and sister about the whole after party in Nashville and what happened with Angela. And honestly, whenever Porsha talks, you only get her version and it's never the truth. But Porsha is just cracking up at herself. She's telling her mom and sister, yeah, someone called Angela Big Bird. And they're like, oh, well, what? Like, who called her Big Bird? And then Portia's in her confessional like, yeah, I did not call her Big Bird. Yep, I don't know who did that. Yep. And then she laughs in her sister's face and she's like, yeah, I called her Big Bird. And it's like, are you in elementary school? Like, you thought you ate with that? Why in the world would you call Angela Big Bird? I mean, she's a tall woman, but at what point does that become offensive? She's not ugly. She has a nice body. She's not frumpy looking, and she's very intelligent. So, I mean, is that something you got off the playground with Pilar? I don't know, but Porsha thought she ate with that, and it's even worse because her sister, who also lacks brain cells, Lauren, she's just sitting there like a seal, clapping and laughing like Porsha's doing something. I'm like, girl. Then Porsha kind of slides in there. Yeah, she was saying something like, oh, I wanted her husband, you know. I don't know where she got that from. She kept saying that. Porsha, are you like ridiculous? There's literally cameras. There's a whole cast. There are people who heard you say it. Stop lying. Her mother should have named her Lisha, not Porsha, Lisha. Because all she does is lie down with men and lie. So our next scene opens up with Angela and Charles, and they're working out in their gym. And that makes sense why Angela's body is so snatched. I didn't know she worked out, but she does apparently. And you know, her and Charles to me are a good couple. I mean, they definitely have good banter, but they're going back and forth, talking about the trip. Angela is filling in Charles. And basically, he's like, okay, you know, like, he's not really taking it too serious about the whole lady drama and issues. But then, you know, Angela mentions that Porsha is saying, oh, well, you know, basically, like, you're so effable, everyone can F you, and even she can F him. And Charles is like, no, she can't. I told you guys in my last, and I know talk is cheap, but listen, I told you guys in my last review that Charles is not having it. Charles is not smashing Porsha. I'm not saying that Charles is not a cheater. I don't know if he's a cheater. He could be. You know, he's an athlete or former athlete. But at the end of the day, not that many people want Porsha as you may think. Porsha has a bad reputation in Atlanta. not everyone is lacking brain cells and wants to smash Porsha. I know she thinks that everyone wants her, but a lot of people look at her as a red flag nowadays. And Angela is just letting Charles know that the gloves are off and she's going to be letting these ladies have it, mainly Porsha, of course. And Charles is like, oh, well, I would love front row tickets to that. Like I said, you can tell that Angela does not play that. Guys, if y'all don't know by now, ladies, gentlemen, listen. The ones that you have to worry about the most are the ones who are the most calm, okay? A calm person who can easily take insults, low blows, and throws calmly, you have to worry about those type of people, okay? Because they're not easily phased. And there's a reason why. They've probably been through a lot, or they already knew that you were going to do it. And that means they're already 2 steps ahead. Angela gives me the vibe that she is very prepared, very witty. She'll scrap with you verbally, and you don't even need to think about getting with her physically because she's going to destroy you. So next up, we have Porsha, and Porsha's getting ready for Dennis to come over along with an au pair. And if you don't know what an au pair is, that's basically someone who comes to live with you and they're like a nanny 24/7. They're living at your home, and that's the difference between that and a nanny. I think sometimes it could be someone from another country or, maybe someone in school. I don't know. But I remember Kenya had one first, so I'm not sure if that's where Porsha got the idea from. All I know is Porsha wants one now for some reason. I don't think she needs one, but I'm not in her life every day. I just feel like, Kenya didn't have that much family support from what we saw living nearby. And we also knew her baby daddy, her ex-husband, lived states away. So it would make sense to me that Kenya as a single woman would have someone, around a lot more. But it doesn't really make sense to me for Porsha to have one because, it just doesn't make sense. Like her daughter lives half her time with her dad, and then on top of that, her daughter goes to school. It's a lot of factors there why it doesn't make sense for me to Porsha have one. But anyway, Dennis comes in and Porsha gives this awkward hug, and it's so awkward. Like she puts like her arms around his neck, like she's not sure if she wants to hug him, but it's like she's kind of being a little awkward on purpose. And all I get from that is like she knows Dennis wants her, but she's playing on his head to kind of like keep him wrapped around her finger, if you know what I mean. She keeps playing with him mentally, I think, and emotionally. Maybe she'll lead him on by saying things like, oh, we're family, my family, or, if you never cheat on me, then this would happen, or she'll even dress sexy around him just to kind of keep his attention. I think it's super cringe. I also don't think that Porsha still wants him. I think she's just being very strategic. I also think that Porsha knows that Dennis dates. He does date, and I heard that he has a girlfriend. And I think she knows, oh, well, if I, show everyone, look, I can still have him, that's going to piss off his new girlfriends. And we all know how Porsha gets. She's very territorial and very selfish. And I think Dennis is too slow to understand that. But Porsha is talking about how their co-parenting relationship is in her confessional. And then Dennis ends up pulling a chair up next to her in the confessional. And it's just like, okay. Anywho, we meet the new au pair who's from South Africa. And she's basically being introduced, by Porsha's assistant. And Porsha is showing her, hey, like we got you some gifts and some balloons. And the assistant will basically be going back and forth from her house and to Dennis's house. And I'm just like, I would be very uncomfortable if I was the au pair, knowing these two, knowing their history. I just wouldn't even want to be at both of their homes. But you can't pay me. I don't want to go to no one's house. You're already staying in someone else's house who is not happy about it. And then this one, he's allegedly messing with everyone in Atlanta. He might try to do something to me and then I lose my job. But Porsha's assistant ends up taking her over to Simon's house. We all know that Porsha can't film in Simon's house. And Porsha's like, Dennis, let's have a chat. I need to talk with you. And Dennis is like, like, whatever. Dennis is excited. Dennis loves any little bit of attention from Porsha. And basically, she's like, oh, I want to talk with you. And he's like, oh, is this about Drew again? And she's like, yeah, I heard, on my birthday trip that you were filming with her. And Dennis is like, okay, like, he's just, honestly, you can tell he doesn't know what the big deal is. And Portia's like looking at her phone and she's like, yeah, you said that Drew was gonna F you. And Dennis is like, what? And she was like, yeah, like she's looking at her phone, acting like she's digging up some receipts. She's like, yeah, you said, let me show you the message. You said, like, basically you could F, like you guys could F. And Dennis is like, no, you're interpreting wrong. Like, you're not getting it right. And she's like, well, let me show you. And then she like takes his glasses off his face playfully. And she's like, let me put on your glasses. And I'm just like, oh, the manipulation of it all. She's very manipulative and she's very good at distracting Dennis. Dennis, the point is, you're a knucklehead. You're slow. Porsha got someone she's smarter than. She's running circles around you. She's trying to make it seem like Drew is some random groupie that's trying to get a music deal with you and making her, get thrown under the bus. And that looks so unprofessional for Dennis, because who wants to put up with Porsha, the BM, when they're trying to grow their music career? You're not going to have successful partner relationships with any woman if Porsha is involved. And Dennis is like, oh, well, if it makes you feel better, since everything made you so uncomfortable, I dropped Drew from the label. He also says that Portia's obviously scared of Drew. And Portia's like, well, you guys just need to take accountability when it comes to me and, these things. And I'm just like, Lord, Porsha is on a power trip. She has nothing but enablers around her, her mom and her sister. And then her baby daddy is a dodo who, fumbled her, yes, by cheating. But he also had a weird obsession with her from the beginning. Because if you guys remember, Porsha said that her and Dennis got busy on the first night they met and started dating. Matter of fact, she said their first date, they literally drank Hennessy on the couch and got it cracking. So Porsha literally got pregnant from someone she said that she didn't really know him like that, but she knew he had money. And they got pregnant within the first month of even being around each other. So these two are just two people. One was lusting over, the physical of it all, and one just wanted dollars. And these two people have a baby, and this man is still physically attracted to her, and she's still attracted to attention and money. It's just a bad recipe, and I'm really wondering how their daughter is going to feel when she sees all this stuff. I'm wondering if it's even going to bother her. Right now, she seems like a little girl with substance. She's very young, but she's a smart little girl. And I just hope she does not end up like her mother and her grandmother. I hope she ends up like the grandmother on Dennis' side, because Diane and Porsha are two dodo birds that just chase money. Next scene, we get Britt, and Britt is like packing up her mom's house with her family. And this scene was a little lackluster, I would say. Something about Britt is very just boring to me. But anywho, you can tell they have some family issues going on. There's like always some bickerment between her and her sisters. And, they're still grieving her dad. And I really didn't get much out of this scene. I'm not even going to lie. So I'm not going to dive deep into it. But I can say I do like Britt's grandmother, because she's just not with the mess. She can't stand any of them. She's like, you guys are always fussing. Just, she's just over them. Okay, y'all know older people don't play that. But anywho, let's get into the big scene of it all that's coming up. And it's actually Cynthia's Juneteenth cue. Bailey Q. She calls it a Bailey Q. It's basically like a barbecue. She says that she used to do it every 4th of July, but now that Juneteenth is a national holiday, she decided to move it on over to Juneteenth. And I think that's very beautiful, very special, very special. And I appreciate Cynthia for, doing something very positive on a special holiday. So Kelly's asking Angela how she's been, and they're just chopping it up a little bit. Cynthia brings in a prophet. She's this woman who's like a medium or psychic, and she's like reading the girls, telling them something about themselves. And the ladies are like enjoying it. They're getting their reading. And What's interesting is somehow Britt manages to make a happy moment negative. You know, Britt is like, oh, Angela, you're going to get whatever energy you put out. I'm trying to do her voice on purpose. Angela, whatever energy you put out, that's what you're going to get. And it's just like, okay, what was the point of that? Leave Angela alone. Angela is, sitting in her own little corner. Why bring it up? Somehow they end up going back and forth. And Angela just lays Britt to rest. Britt is getting all hyped up. Angela's like, you and that big mouth, like, please stop. And Britt is like, oh, maybe you need to use your mouth more often. And she's obviously alluding to the rumors about Charles cheating. And Angela's like, maybe, but maybe not as often as you do, because your mouth has mouths on it and stretch marks around it. Now, that made everyone gag. Like, okay. Like, Angela ate Britt on up right with that. Britt, you got ate up. You got read down. The end. But anywho, Britt can't even really come back from that, to be honest. She tries, but it's just like, she reads like a kindergartner. It's just like, her and Porsha went to the same school. Had to be. They just had to be. There's nothing there. And Cynthia ends up pulling Angela and Porsha to the side. And she's like, oh, I want you guys to talk, just get away any tension. And Angela just asks Porsha what's up with it. Like, I feel like you guys were trying to attack me or gang up on me a little bit. And I also don't understand what is up with you talking about my husband, saying that you were going to F him. And Porsha just flat out denies it. There she goes with that lying crap. And it's like, bravo, if y'all don't handle this, please. She keeps doing stuff on camera or either around cast members, and then she denies it later. Why is that enjoyable? But anywho, Porsha's denying. She's like, no, I'm not that type of girl. And then Angela's like, oh, well, blame it on the alcohol. Do whatever you want. But you did say that. And then Porsha's like, oh, well, you weren't supposed to hear that. You were supposed to be asleep. Your A was supposed to be asleep. Porsha is getting on my last nerves. Every last nerve this season. I've never been more bothered by a housewife before until now. She's up there with Ashley Darby. Ashley's very annoying to me too. Porsha, go to hell. I'm sorry, I just had to say it. Porsha is ridiculous. She's so ridiculous. How are you mad at Angela for being mad at you for saying you would F her husband? Be for real. But anywho, just to make things go away, Cynthia comes back in. And then Cynthia's like, did things get better? And Porsha's like, no, well, she didn't apologize to me. There you go with that delusion, Porsha. Well, Angela's just a big girl in the situation. She's like, well, I apologize, if I offended you. And then Portia's like, okay, well, ditto. And then Angela just laughs. She's like, girl, whatever. And then Portia's like trying to clean it up. Oh, well, I'm sorry, what I said. I didn't mean to, hurt you in any way. I was just, saying whatever I said. And I'm just like, why did it take so long to get that from you? Finally, Cynthia gets Shamia and Angela to meet up because I guess Shamia had some tension with Angela after the trip because I guess Angela let her know, like, hey, like, obviously we're very different. We don't have the same type of morals, so that's that. And Angela was referring to how Shamia just sat up there laughing when Porsha said that she was going to F Charles. And I don't blame Angela. But anywho, Shamia and Angela are sitting down. And my girl Angela is just taking heat after heat, okay? Like, everybody comes for her. Angela is the real MVP of this season. Well, Shamia's like, oh, well, I just don't understand what the issue was. And then Angela's like, your best friend, said she would F my husband. You're a married woman. I wouldn't expect you to be laughing and giggling about something like that. And Shamia's like, oh, well, I laugh at everything. Everything's funny to me. And I'm sorry, that's just not my fight. I mean, that's what Porsha said. That's just not my fight. I just laugh a lot. Laughing is good for you. And then Shamia's like, I even laughed at my uncle's funeral because they dressed him up like a pastor and he never stepped foot in church. And Angela's just looking at her with a blank expression. She's like, okay, well, let's just end the conversation because it's not going to go nowhere. Good job, Angela. You clocked it. Shamia decided to distract you by trying to be funny. And it makes sense at this point why her and Porsha are best friends. They're very similar. They don't do anything but look good, attract wealthy men, and try to have a big character that's very like attention seeking. They try to be very sexual. They're just one and the same. And Porsha said herself that Shamia hooked her up with Simon. It doesn't surprise me that Shamia doesn't see anything wrong with someone stealing a husband, and she thinks that's funny. It's going to be funny until Porsha hits on your man, Shamia. And it's coming if it hasn't already. I'm pretty sure when Porsha does come around, she's wearing something looking a little inappropriate, a little bit too sexy. And I really can't wait until Shamia gets to experience that firsthand. Or maybe if someone, approached her man, maybe it wouldn't be so funny. But y'all get in the comments and let me know what y'all think. That was the end of that. These ladies were a snooze fest this episode, and I'm just over them. I'm really over them. I hope they get this together. Apparently, Phaedra is coming on pretty soon. I'm not sure if it's literally the next episode or the one after that, but Phaedra is returning, guys. So let's see how this is gonna go. If you want a slight spoiler alert, Phaedra is gonna be talking about Angela and basically helping Porsha with this whole little rumors about Charles and Angela and the cheating thing. So be prepared. Angela is going to have an event at the end of the finale. And there's a guy that Angela was like beefing with, and I actually saw him post about it a while back, so I may make another video on that. But we do know who the guy is that Angela's beefing with. She's not beefing with her husband. She's beefing with the guy who was supposed to be her friend but ended up being a snake. And all I know is whenever there's snakes involved, you usually know in this show, Porsha and Phaedra have something to do with it. But y'all like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will be dropping more tea really soon. Also, if you guys like Real Housewives of Potomac, please comment, because I'm thinking about dropping some new tea on Real Housewives of Potomac. Also, I got a little listy list of all the men that Porsha had been dating after her divorce from Cordell. Now, it may not be all of the men, but some of the men who have been her sugar daddies. Some are African, some are like public people. So let me know if you guys want that, and I'll drop that as well. Again, like the video, subscribe so we can keep growing our community. And you guys stay safe and have a blessed day. Bye.